speaking specifically of the United States of America and of our labor issues here in the United States. Rebecca Smith is with us, live from Athens, Greece. Do I have that, Rebecca?
Yes, I'm attending a conference in Greece, but it was important to me to be able to talk with you and your listeners.
Well, thank you.
So thank you.
I understand you gave up a tour of the Acropolis just to come
on.
Oh,
boy, they really told you all the background. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, I did, but I guess we'll all get back to the Acropolis some other time.
I am honored. I've been to Athens. It's an extraordinary place, and there's a lot of things to see there. In any case, you are an attorney and a spokesperson for the National Employment Law Project, NELP.org. This is our weekly labor segment here. And the headline in the story, labor groups issue blueprint to restore balance between immigration enforcement on the one hand and labor rights on the other hand. Can you lay out for me the dynamic tension between these two?
Yes, I can. We have had a policy in our country that when immigration authorities are conducting enforcement, trying to go after employers who are hiring undocumented workers or go after undocumented workers themselves, that they stay away from workplaces where there are labor disputes in progress. And the idea behind that is that labor policy is also important. And if we allow employers to take advantage of workers and essentially use immigration status as an exit strategy in labor disputes, we're undermining labor rights not only for immigrant workers but for all workers. So that's been the policy in the past, and what we really found in the past several years is that the former administration's focus on enforcement only, deportation only, undermined labor rights in a number of situations, in a number of cases, in a number of different circumstances.
Well, it basically gives even more power to, first of all, when you say immigrant in this context, you're referring to undocumented immigrants, people who are not
folks who are unauthorized to work, yes.
Right. So if that's the case, then an enforcement against human workers as opposed to an enforcement against corporations and employers, that kind of an approach gives employers of illegals or undocumenteds or whatever term you want to use, gives them an incredible cudgel, an incredible weapon, an incredible hammer that they can beat about the head and shoulders their undocumented workers by threatening them with revealing them to ICE, knowing that the employer themselves is not going to go to jail, but that the workers may, and so the workers are terrified, and so they'll be willing to put up with having their paychecks stolen. They'll be willing to put up with having to work an extra half a day with no pay, or sometimes an entire week with no pay, or work for in unsafe conditions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, being in servitude.
That's right. And what we found was not only that employers threatened to call ICE, they've done that for dozens of years, but that ICE was actually responding. So what happens? Workers are too afraid to file a complaint, join a union, file for workers' compensation if they're injured on the job. And what does the employer learn? Neat trick. I'll do that with the next worker.
That's
and
right.
What happens to the U.S. workers who are working alongside those workers? They then suffer the same kind of deterioration in their labor standards.
Right. So ultimately, doesn't this point to two issues? Number one, we need to change the way that we're enforcing both labor laws and immigration laws. And number two, we have to have some rational solution that balances, on the one hand, the fact that we've got a lot of people in this country who've been here for many years who have children who are U.S. citizens or who may have married U.S. citizens, and that's, a mess that is not amenable to things like, oh, let's just toss them in a bus and deport them, or if they can't get a job, they'll go home. And on the other hand, the dilution of the labor pool by a potentially unlimited stream of people from lower wage countries that blows up the ability of, I'm old enough to remember when a union carpenter could raise a family and put their kids through school. And
That's
those
right.
jobs are pretty much all gone now, in large part as a consequence of what Lou Dobbs refers to as illegal immigration. So there's a grain of truth on both sides here.
Yeah, there is. But what we're saying the Obama administration needs to look at is, of course, we need comprehensive immigration reform. We have got to legalize those workers and give them a path to becoming citizens and full members of society. But second, we've got to enforce labor laws.
Right. Against
the
employers.
Sanction that we need is against employers who are violating labor laws.
Right. Yeah, I have been saying on this program for years and in numerous op-eds that we don't have an illegal immigrant problem in this country. We have an illegal employer problem in this country.
Absolutely.
I cannot imagine anybody who would literally risk their lives, and people do because people die every day trying to cross that border, who would literally risk their lives just to get here so that they could go on food stamps, which is the characterization of the Lou Dobbses.
Which they don't qualify for anyway.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So the reason that these folks are going through hell to get here is because there's a job available to them. And if those jobs go away, then we don't need $1 million fence. And in other words, if the employers are prosecuted, and on the other hand, the people who are already here and who are productive and are contributing to our society, while we don't want to encourage millions more to come in, we do need to deal with this in a humane and decent way.
Right. There's got to be a balance between immigration enforcement and labor law enforcement. And for too many years, we have completely ignored minimum wage and overtime and union collective bargaining rights and on and on. That's the focus we need to restore to our labor law enforcement system, and that will protect both U.S. workers and immigrant workers.
Right. We need to balance the rational and economically rational with the humanly rational, with the sane and compassionate at the same time. And doing it the way Reagan did it isn't the best way, and doing it certainly the way that Bush did it is horrible. Rebecca Smith, staff attorney for the National Employment Law Project, NELP.org is the website. Rebecca, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to come in with us and share it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 27 minutes past the hour. Thom Hartmann here with you, and we will be right back. Stay